years of adult women who were abused as children or in a domestic violence relationship. And this is going to be really, really beneficial if you're hopping in late, or if you are watching this after I've already recorded it. I'm so grateful that you're here, and I cannot wait to dive into this and share with you about the program. So the program is going to be I almost want to do like a drum roll because I've been working on it for a really long time. But the program is going to be a membership because I really wanted to help as many women as possible. And I know that I can't do that like one-on-one and coach as many women as I would like to. So I decided to build a membership, and what I'm doing in the membership is I am building out everything that someone would need to go through their healing process by themselves if they needed to. And then of course there's the group that's here if you needed any extra assistance. And there's going to be, I'm going to call it a healing vault, and what's going to be inside is a whole bunch of resources and videos. I don't want to call it a course because it's not really a course. It's going to be a complete healing vault, and I'm going to be adding to it consistently. There's going to be more information, and the reason why it's a membership is because you can go through it at your own pace, and the more I add to it, the more you can view, the better you can heal, and the better you can understand yourself. So another thing that I'm going to be doing is one-on-one coaching, and the one-on-one coaching is it's going to be a 6 to 8 week, depending on you and how severe your background and your childhood is. We will dive into one-on-one coaching for 6 to 8 weeks, and then I'm also going to have another package for like a deep healing one-on-one session. It's like a 2-hour deep dive session, but I do not recommend this for people who have severe PTSD or like severe trauma because it could be very draining. And what my process is, and what I'm going to be talking a lot about with you guys today. Hi Terry, hello, it's so good to see you. I love you and I miss you so much. So what I'm going to be talking about today, and what my whole membership is about, is biblical inner child healing, because everybody has an inner child that is broken and was hurt at some point in their life, and it looks like that it looks different for everyone, but a lot of the behaviors that I'm going to be talking about today are a result of those childhood any childhood traumas that someone may have. Oh, I love you too. So I'm going to have the one-on-one coaching and the membership, and it's going to be super cheap, guys. Like, I'm not going to it's not going to be an outrageous price, and I'm doing that because whenever I was really struggling, I couldn't afford like more than $20. So it's going to range from $7 to $17. I'm not sure yet. So there's a little bit about the program that I'm building and that I'm working on, and will hopefully have launched by next weekend. So really quick, my process of what I offer, of what I go through, is, so in order for us to be happy, we need to find a purpose in our lives. That's like through all of my schooling and all of my education that I've learned, what makes you happy is your purpose. And to get to your purpose, you have to fix your mindset, because you have to be in the right mindset in order to be in your purpose and fulfill your purpose and be helping other people, right? And so to fix your mindset, you have to face your fears. And where your fears are within the little girl inside of you. And I call her Talitha Kum, and that's from a biblical, or from the Bible. It's in Mark, and it's about Jesus, and there's a little girl who's died, and everybody says that she's dead, but he says she's only asleep, and he says Talitha Kum, which means little girl, I say to you, arise, or awaken. And so that's why the name of my program is AwakenHer, because I want to awaken the little girl inside of you that is wounded, that is broken, that is tired, that is exhausted, and has been really hurt in the past. So yeah, that's my step. That's going to be my process. That's how the membership will hopefully help you, and what it's going to dive into, and what we go into a deep dive with my one-on-one coaching. But for now, I'm excited to get into the 10 behaviors of abused women. And I'm actually really excited about this. I worked on this for like a really long time. It's the first step to healing is really to just be aware of certain behaviors that we may have that you might not even realize that you're doing. And everybody has these, anybody who is wounded, anybody who has a wounded little girl inside of them, they are totally going to be, they're going to have these behaviors. And I asked you to bring a pen and paper because if you find that one is more prevalent within your life, I want you to write it down, and I want you to write down the beginning steps of how to heal this, because it could be extremely, this is going to be your first step towards your healing, towards your freedom. And I'm really noticing that there's a lot of spiritual warfare going on against women and families right now. So that's why I chose to do this instead of like the cleaning and the budgeting videos. So I'm going to, I see a couple more people joined. Hello, I'm so grateful to have y'all here. I just spoke about the membership that I'm building, the affordable membership that's going to go into a deep dive, and then I'm also going to be doing one-on-one coaching. So that was kind of like the surprise of what I've been working on. All right, so I'm going to get into the 10 behaviors of abused women. And if you have your pen and paper ready, what I'm going to talk about is the behaviors, and then I'm going to talk about how they manifest in our lives, what that behavior would look like in your life, the negative outcomes because of those behaviors. And then I'm not going to leave you hanging like, oh, here's what's wrong with you. I'm going to also give you a beginner step of how you can begin healing. So if you hear something that you can resonate with, write it down, write down the steps that you can begin taking. And if you have any questions, like, I'm here 100% for you. I love each and every one of you. You can ask in the future, any of my clients, they'll let you know that I genuinely just want to love on you and help you in any way possible. So, behavior number 1 is perfectionism. So perfectionism, the origin of where this comes from for our Talitha Kum, our wounded inner child, it comes from her, whenever you were younger. If you are a perfectionist, you learned that being flawless was a way to avoid criticism and harm. So you try every way possible to make sure everything is exactly right and the exactly way that it's supposed to be, because you're scared that if it isn't, then you're going to get criticized. You don't want to be hurt or told that you're wrong, or that you're not good enough, right? It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And so you try to make it perfect. And that's unrealistic, right? The way that it manifests is that you set unattainable standards, you seek control in every area of your life, and you fear criticism. You see criticism as a negative thing, and some people can give it to you in negative ways, but even if it's constructive criticism, you fear it. You feel like you take it personal, like there's something wrong with you, right? So a beginner step would be to let your inner child know, and I'll have to go into how to reach her and things maybe on my next one, but to let your inner child talk to yourself and say, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's no such thing as being perfect. Nothing can be perfect on this earth, right? So practice self-compassion and remind yourself that it's okay to not be perfect. It's unattainable. Set standards for yourself that are attainable. Okay, now number 2 is fear of intimacy or relationships. Where this would come from would be due to past traumatic relationships. The little girl within you probably developed a fear of vulnerability, and so you would rather like stay away from somebody than to let them get close and break you, because you've been broken over and over and over again, whether it be in romantic relationships or in friendships or with your family. So instead of letting somebody in and break you, you keep a wall up, and it makes total sense because you've been hurt, and so you would rather stay away and protect yourself. It's all about, protecting yourself. How this would look is you avoid being close to someone, sharing your emotions with people. You fear that your emotions will be exposed to the world, or that you do not want to let anybody know how you're feeling, so you keep this mask on at all times, trying to pretend that everything's okay whenever you know deep down it's not, and it's breaking you. You struggle to open up even with people who you're close with, and like I said, that is all due to past relationships and how your little girl within you was really wounded as a child, whether your parents knew that they were doing that or not. Even the slightest like situation can really break a child's mind. You guys, is extremely fragile, and I'm learning that like in my psychology classes and through my coaching programs, and even as being a mom. Children's minds are so fragile, and that's why the little girl within us is extremely fragile too. Once you were broken as a child, your emotions stopped growing right there. Like it stopped growing. You are, whatever you got broke at, that's where you're stuck at, emotionally, not mentally, not physically, obviously, but emotionally, that's where all of these things are. And I have a theory that underneath, this is part of my other theory and part of my membership, is that underneath every negative emotion, almost, maybe not all, but almost every negative emotion is fear. If you're anxious, you're scared of the unknown and what's going to happen in the future. If you're depressed, it's because you're scared that your past has completely screwed up your future. You're afraid of rejection. You're afraid that anything you try to get up and do is not going to be good enough. Once again, the inner child and what you've been told as when you were younger and in relationships. Especially in abusive relationships, I've always said that I would rather a man beat me than put me down and say negative and demeaning things, because we grab onto those for some reason. I don't know why, but as women, we latch on to the most negative things that have been said to us, and we literally are like a magnet for negative things that have been said to us. And ladies, that's why I am here, because I love each and every one of you, and I am not perfect by any means. Like, I do not want y'all to think that I'm on here thinking that I'm Miss Goody Two-Shoes, because the hell I am. I am not. I am totally imperfect, but I am healing right alongside y'all. So I went way off track there. Sorry. Okay, so if y'all have any questions or something just comes up for you, you guys just type it in the chat, and I'd love to talk to y'all a little bit deeper about anything. Okay, so fear of intimacy in relationships. Manifestation. How does it manifest in your life? Oh, I already said that. All right, the negative outcomes of avoiding relationships or avoiding opening up, obviously, it results in loneliness. You're going to be lonely, and you have a God-shaped hole within your heart, and you are going to try and fill anything that you possibly can, and it's not going to fit. It's going to leave you completely broken and empty, right? You're going to feel lonely, emotionally detached. So sometimes people will just like numb. I mean, they'll just like, I don't feel it, and I'm just going to go on like autopilot, right? You just go into autopilot and you're like, it's okay, I don't feel anything, but you really deep down do. Let's see. And missed opportunities on friendships, on relationships, on a romantic relationship, and a good one too, because you haven't healed yet, and that's okay. But to begin that healing process so that you can start to open up is really good. So a beginner step for this would be to begin, if you're a journaling kind of person, to begin to open up to yourself and the little girl within you. Just try to imagine her and speak to her, the way that you have been needed to speak to all of this time, that you've never been talked to the way that you wanted to. So begin listening to her feelings and try to be in tune with the little girl inside of you, because she's the one screaming for help, right? And you can begin to like identify your feelings and what is the fear underneath of this. You start to get angry. Okay, why am I angry? What am I afraid of right now? Or I'm really, really sad. I'm really depressed. What is underneath of this? Am I scared of something? Am I worried about something? Or anxious? Like just before this, I was really anxious because I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm really nervous. This is like, I'm going live, and what was my fear? I'm afraid you have to be honest with yourself. I was afraid that nobody would like me, or nobody's going to like what I'm going to say, or I would be rejected, right? Rejection is a very scary thing. So just like identifying what's really going on underneath. I need to work faster and quit talking so much. Okay, so another, number 3, I need to be writing these down too for you guys. So number 1 was perfectionism. I put this up there and I'm not even using it. Perfectionism. Number 2 was fear of intimacy and relationships. I'm just going to put fear of intimacy. And then number 3 is trust issues. Okay. Can y'all see that? No, of course not. Wow. And if I put it up closer, we might just do away with that. Okay. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning. Okay. So, I'll put it up there anyway, just in case y'all can see it. Okay. So, trust issues. Where this comes from is because of previous betrayals and deceptions that shaped your inner child's difficulty to trust others. This could look in many different ways, and this might get a little bit uncomfortable of what I'm about to say. So at any point in time, if you guys start to have any kind of like overwhelm, this is something that I do. I'm going to teach you guys something really quick. I learned this in one of my psychology things. So it's called the butterfly hug. So you're going to take your hands and you're going to lap them over like this and cross your thumbs. And it's like a butterfly, kind of like that, right? And so you take your thumbs in your hands like this. I know this looks really stupid, but you're going to go like this, and you're going to close your eyes and breathe and pat one at a time. And you're just going to breathe like that, and you're going to keep patting. And that is going to, what that does is it recenters your brain and lets you know you're safe, you're calm, everything's okay, and it like almost like reconnects your brain and lets you know, like it's a grounding exercise to let you know I'm safe, I'm loved, and you can even say things like that. So anyways, at any point in time, if it becomes too much, just try to do that. So trust issues can come from being sexually abused, being severely physically abused as a child or in a relationship, or going through sexual trauma. It can even be through being cheated on so many times in different relationships, because like, I'm not going to trust anyone anymore, because if I have to trust you, then that means that you have access to my heart, and you have access, like, you have access to me. Most people who have trust issues, ironically, have the biggest hearts. And they wear their heart on their sleeve, and they would be willing to give whatever they possibly can to anyone. So whenever they do open up, and they have opened up, they get completely shut down or trampled over by a man, or by friends, or at work, in every area of your life. And so you've learned that even if you are in a relationship, you're like, well, I don't trust you, where are you going? You are extremely wondering like where they are, where you're constantly worried that you're going to be abandoned, right? Okay, and so how trust issues manifest is that you expect betrayal or deception. You expect for someone to deceive you. You'd rather be ahead of the game, right? So you'd rather know that they were going to deceive you and just assume that they were, than it actually happen and you be shattered, right? So it makes it really, those things make it really challenging. The negative outcomes of this is isolation, strained relationships, and missed connections. A beginner step for this would be to start with like small things of trust, and ultimately your inner, the inner little girl within you, the Talitha Kum is what I call her. She needs to know that she can trust you first. So it's like, you need to trust yourself before you can trust anybody else. You need to know that you are safe, that you are loved by God, that it doesn't matter no matter what happens in this life, God has got you, because he's taking care of you this whole entire time. And that's I know, like, me saying that probably sounds like, oh, that's so easy to do, Mariah, but it's very difficult to actually get to that place. And so that's what all of these little workshops are going to be for, just to help you be aware and to help you get to a place where you feel safe and loved and you begin to heal. So try to start learning how to trust yourself, because so whenever you start to do that, it's going to feel very strange. Maybe I'll do a whole nother one on that. I'll see what y'all want me to do. But trying to just small acts of trust is what it's going to take. Once you break somebody's trust, though, it's really difficult to get back. So, alrighty, the next one is low self-esteem, low self-worth. I think every woman, to a degree, has low self-esteem or low self-worth. And maybe somebody didn't even go through abuse as a child, but because of social media and what we are expected to look like, dress like, act like, I really think that it is glamorized to be absolutely perfect and marvelous all the time, and it's unrealistic, completely unrealistic. But aside from that, if you have past trauma and you were abused and as a child and in a relationship or relationships, those combined is like a dynamite. I mean, it's a dynamite for your, it's a killer for your self-esteem and for your self-worth. So the origin of where it could come from in your childhood for the little girl within you is past experiences that contributed to doubting yourself and feelings of inadequacy. So not feeling good enough, whether it be as a child, your parents like told you that you weren't good enough, or even if they like hinted around to it. They may not have said it, but they definitely hinted around to it. You feel like you are not good enough. You feel like you talk down to yourself. You don't feel like you are capable of doing things. You don't feel like you are able to be yourself, because yourself, whenever you were younger, people told you that who you were was not good enough, that you are stupid, and that you like your dreams are stupid, your ambitions, your hopes, how you acted, or something like that. And especially so that's for childhood. But as far as domestic violence relationships, all women crave is love, and men crave respect, but women crave love. And so whenever a man demeans a woman and breaks her down, and especially a narcissist will dig deep and find your strengths, not your weaknesses. A narcissist is going to find your strengths, and he is going to break those down so that you feel completely dependent upon him, and you feel less dependent on yourself, because he has so much insecurity that he wants you to need him so that he feels like he can find his self-worth in your brokenness, right? Does that make sense? So, doubting yourself, feeling like you're not good enough. So how it would manifest in your life is you struggle with your self-worth. You doubt yourself in everything, and you are very harsh. You are very criticizing of yourself. More than likely, you say sorry a lot, and you say sorry for saying sorry. I do this a lot. The negative outcomes of this are impaired decision making, missed opportunities, and self-sabotage. So even if something is going really good for you, you would rather sabotage it than to let it happen, because you don't feel like you are worthy of it. You know, before I started doing this, I was really scared that I wasn't good enough, that I had to get all of these certifications and all of these qualifications so that somebody would listen to me, because I have a felony on my record. I'm a past drug addict. I was a prostitute. I was a thief, a liar, and everything. And I'm like, nobody's going to listen to me. Nobody's going to listen to me unless I get all these certifications. So I busted my behind for, I don't know, maybe like a month, and got all these certifications because I thought that I wasn't good enough, that nobody would listen to me unless I got those. And that's so unrealistic. So it's just little things like that. We don't realize what you say about yourself and how you feel about yourself. That's what you're going to attract as friends, as a romantic partner. How you feel about yourself, that's what you're going to attract. If you are talking down to yourself, you're going to attract an emotionally unattached man who isn't in tune with himself either. And so trying to help you be aware of these behaviors, just so you can kind of like be like aware during the day, like, oh wow, like I'm doing this, what's the feeling underneath of it, right? So a beginner step for low self-worth and low self-esteem is to practice daily positive affirmations, and focus on your strengths. If you have pen and paper, I would love for you to write down 5 of your strengths right now. Write down 5 strengths that you have, or if you don't have pen and paper, just think about them. Are you caring? Are you loving? Are you giving? Are you a hard worker? Do you give everything that you have? Talk good to yourself, because the more you talk good to yourself, the more you're going to attract. The Bible says, so a man thinketh in his heart, so he is. What you think about yourself is the truth. It's the thoughts that it's the inner child that was broken and that was continually broken in relationships. That's the voices in your head that are telling you you're not good enough, that this isn't going to work out. You are stupid. Why are you even trying? And just stops you from so many things that you could possibly do. So that's why I'm here, and I'm trying to let you know. And the affirmations, after I finish this, I'll actually go in and I can write a list of affirmations that you can tell yourself, even if it's while it's doing the butterfly hug, breathing and saying things like that, like I am worthy, I am loved, and those are really good. But focusing more on your strengths and figuring out, if I'm not good enough for this, who says? Who told me in the past that I'm not good enough? And what have they been through that they have to hurt me to make themselves feel better? Because it's not you. There's nothing wrong with you, right? There's something wrong with them that they haven't healed, and they are projecting it onto you. What they said to you is how they feel about themselves. So, okay. Number 5, difficulty finding and keeping healthy relationships, which goes, the low self-esteem, low self-worth goes directly into the difficulty finding and keeping healthy relationships. Because like I said, how you feel about yourself is what you're going to attract. So the origin of this, where it would come from, is, of course, unhealthy relationships in the past that are going to cause you to repeat similar patterns. However, so your attachment style, depending on what your attachment style is, you could either be, so maybe I shouldn't get into that because that's a whole nother thing. So in a relationship, you can't, so if you're single, you're not going to be able to attract a healthy person unless you are working on healing yourself, because this is a lifetime process. If you begin working on yourself and healing and recognizing negative patterns within yourself, you'll be able to attract a man that you know, oh, there's a red flag. There's a red flag, and you'll give yourself the permission to set a boundary before you put yourself in another abusive relationship, or another relationship that was like your father, who treats you like your father, because we seek out narcissists and men who are insecure with themselves. They will love bomb the crap out of you. They are going to like shower you with gifts and with compliments, and like they're just going to love bomb you in like almost a addictive way, and it's completely unhealthy the way they do that. It's like fish, and they bait you and then they get you and they hurt you over and over again. So anyways, how it manifests is you attract, we attract toxic relationships, and we repeat those unhealthy patterns. which generation from generation, it could come from your line of generational relationships. It's all you know, it's all that you are comfortable with, and you haven't seen a functioning relationship in your life, and so all you know is all you know, right? You don't know what a functioning relationship is supposed to look like, and that's okay. It's totally okay, but as soon as you start healing and working on yourself and the little girl within you that's completely broken, you're gonna know exactly what you need and what you want in a relationship. So, alright, so the negative outcomes of the unhealthy relationships, obviously, emotional turmoil, constantly, like you are soaking in all the negative things that they've said, heartbreak, and perpetuating trauma. Like, just, it's like a trauma roller coaster, just going back and forth and just continuing. So beginner step, obviously, is healthy boundaries. And boundaries is such like a very used word. Boundaries are for other people, limits are for yourself. So you limit yourself, and you find within you what hurts, what don't I like, what you're learning yourself. We have spent so much time and energy, ladies, and money on things and on men who have broken us, and we've poured so much into them that our cup is empty now. Like, our cup is empty. It's time for you to pour back into yourself, because if you pour from an empty cup, then all you're doing is feeding a monster, and you are losing yourself in the process. So it's finding out who you are in Christ, and how to love yourself enough to set your limits and know your limits. What do I like? What don't I like? What triggers me from my past? What did somebody used to do to me in my past, and it really upsets me in relationships now? And you learn to set boundaries in a loving way. So number 6 is self-sabotage. This comes from our little girl within, who is afraid of success, or feeling unworthy, and that's at the root of every self-sabotaging behavior. I personally believe that this possibly comes from if this is one of your behaviors that you do, you unconsciously, how it manifests is you unconsciously undermine your personal and professional success. So you downplay anything that you've actually, like any good thing that you've done. You're like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Because in your past, whenever something really good happened to you, nobody noticed it. And so you're like, if I downplay it and I say, oh, it's not that big of a deal, then people will be like, oh, yes, it is, honey. It's such a great job. It's almost like, you don't want to seem cocky either, right? You don't want to brag about something. So that's one aspect of it for the success thing, but feeling like you're unworthy and you're undeserving of your purpose, or you're undeserving of things that have come your way, and so you sabotage them. Like, here's an opportunity that I can grow, or here's an opportunity where I could move up in a business, or anything like that whatsoever. You feel like, or you sabotage this because you would rather stop it from happening than to fail and feel like a failure. Most likely because as a child, you were told you were a failure, that you never did anything right. And in relationships, a man would undermine anything that you did, and he would pick out every single flaw instead of pointing out the good, right? So the negative outcomes of this is unfulfilled potential, and that's where happiness is. Like I said in the beginning, I don't know if you guys missed it or not, but unfulfilled, or finding your purpose, is where, after all of my trainings and everything, living in your purpose of what God has for you, that's where true happiness comes from. And that can't happen without a good mindset. And the good mindset can't happen until you face your fears. And the fears are within the little girl within you, who was broken a really long time ago. So you sabotage opportunities that come your way. And so you're frustrated and you feel unfulfilled and like there's a hole within you and you don't know what's missing. That's the outcomes of self-sabotage. A couple beginner steps for this is to identify whenever that comes up. If you start sabotaging yourself, identify it and say, oh, okay, maybe that wasn't right to say to myself or about myself, and then challenge the negative self-talk. Like I said, what you say about yourself, so a man thinketh, so he is. And so what you say about yourself and to yourself, you are going to feel that. Our mind is directly connected to our body scientifically. So you can literally make yourself sick. You can literally ruin the health of your body and your mindset just because you talk down to yourself. Try to start saying positive things, even if something bad comes up, like I'm not worthy, even if you're like, okay, I know that's not true, let's move on. Right? Something to make yourself to not continue talking to your. We get so angry at the people who hurt us in our past, but we talk to ourselves the same exact way. We abuse ourselves almost in a way, you know? So, all right, next one is number 7, chronic anxiety and hypervigilance. This one is a little bit tough as well. So, where this comes from is past traumas. They contributed to persistent worry and hypervigilance. And what hypervigilance means is that whenever you were younger, maybe your parents fought all the time, or anytime you came home from school, if you got in trouble for like a bad grade or any small thing, you were constantly attuned, and you learn to be hypervigilant and notice every negative thing in your surroundings, so that you're like on, what's that? It's like you're like constantly hypervigilance. I don't know if somebody knows the word. You're constantly like on the lookout for something bad to happen, because most likely whenever you were younger, like I said, your parents were maybe fighting all the time, or you had an abusive father or an abusive mother, or you were in a relationship where sometimes you would just get hit out of nowhere and there was no reason for that. So you become attuned not to the positive in the room or the positive that's going on around you. You are always looking for the negative subconsciously, and you probably weren't even aware of that. You are looking for the negative everywhere because you're so used to the negative, and it breaks my heart. That you would rather be ready, like it's like you're constantly ready to fight. You're constantly ready to defend yourself because you aren't going to be hurt anymore. Like, I'm not going to stand for this anymore. I'm going to be on the lookout constantly. And what does that do to you? It freaking hurts, man. You don't have room to breathe, So how it manifests in your life is you could experience constant anxiety and heightened alertness. So why is this constant anxiety? What is the feeling underneath of that? Like I said before, like almost every negative emotion is fear. You are scared to death constantly, and you are constantly on the what is that? You're constantly alert because you are scared of what's about to happen. The negative outcomes are exhaustion, stress-related health issues, and impaired focus. So if you are exhausted and you don't know why, sometimes you're just like so exhausted and you're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm just so exhausted. It's because you're constantly being hyper attuned and making sure that you are safe, and that comes from the little girl within you who does not feel safe. She is so broken and she is so hurt and she is so scared that it's like all day long, and then finally whenever you're constantly attuned to everything throughout the day, and then as soon as you lay down to sleep, your brain starts going crazy. Why? And you start actually thinking about stuff that's going on and the things you need to do. Why? Because throughout the entire day, all you were doing was you were on defense mode and making sure that you are keeping yourself safe. And that's that little girl within you, and she's hurting and she's broken, and I really hope that I can help you all through all of these workshops and things, because I understand how you feel. I really truly do, and I've went through my own healing journey and I'm still on it, but all of this is just all of this information that I have for you guys and in the future is all from my heart and how I've gotten through it, and how I'm taking my clients through it, and they're doing a fantastic job right now and having good breakthroughs. So anyways, let's see. A beginner step would be so to practice mindfulness. Try to start, if that's you, if you can identify with everything that I just said, I really, really want you to start focusing on the positive things in the room. Start focusing on the positive things, and now that I've made you aware of it, try to ground yourself, do the thing, and you don't even have to do this if you don't want to, and breathe. You can even tap your fingers like this, and if you're angry, you push down really hard. And you just I know it probably seems really silly, but you can even do this in public without people really noticing. But that'll ground you. This grounds you somehow. And you breathe through it and you try to think of different things. Okay. Number 8 is, I only have 12 minutes left. I need to hustle. So number 8 is emotional dysregulation. So emotional dysregulation would come from, the origin of it is from the little girl who's trying to cope with the unprocessed emotions and it's causing difficulties in managing your emotions. So the little girl within you who is completely broken, probably anywhere from 4 to about 13 years old, that little girl, your Talitha Kum is what I call her, she has unprocessed emotions. And so they're like bipolar disorder. Yeah, no crap, because you have 2 different beings, and this is like I said, this is all biblical, and I have researched it and everything. So this isn't, I'm not talking about your third eye or your chakras. I'm not into all that. I do biblical inner child healing. So what happens is whenever you are bipolar or you have depression or anxiety, it is because the little girl within you is screaming for your help. This is the little girl within you, and this is you, right? And you guys are fighting each other. I need help, and I'm angry and I'm sad, and you're you need to, or the adult version of you is fighting it back and trying to not even work through the emotions because you don't want to face them, right? So the little girl within you struggles with the emotional regulation, and you experience mood swings because of it, because you are back and forth with your emotions. You're depressed and you're anxious, then you're depressed and then you're anxious. And that's because you haven't started your healing journey. And it whenever your emotions are rising and falling like that, it's really important that you take a step back and you have to like recognize what is underneath of this. Why, what am I afraid of right now? Like I've said this so many times, but I'm trying to repeat it to get it in your mind that underneath almost every negative emotion is fear. Not every single one of them, but most of them are fear, and they're the fears of the little girl within you. So try to like attune to her, like close your eyes and picture her, and don't get too deep into it. If you want to, then you can like call me. I still have a couple, I have like one more beta seat left if somebody wants to work with me on one of these. But you would, and don't dive too deep into it, but you just imagine her. What is she doing? What is she trying to tell you right now? And it will all make sense. What are you feeling right now? What are you scared of right now? Like, baby girl, what is wrong? You talk to her like a scared little girl because she is. If a little girl came up to you and she couldn't find her mommy and she was lost and she was scared to death, what would you do? You would walk up to her and you say, "It's okay, baby, let's figure it out." Wouldn't you? And that's how we have to talk to ourselves, that little girl within us who's still broken, who got she is emotionally stopped growing at the age that you got broken, from 4 to 13, wherever that may be. So going to her and talking to her and figuring out what exactly is wrong, that is where the healing is going to start to take place. All right. So how you can it manifests itself, right? You struggle with the mood swings because you and your inner child are not really in sync, and you're not recognizing her as being broken. You think that it's you that's broken. You think something's wrong with you, and it's nothing that's wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you at all. You are broken, and you were broken a long time ago, and you've never learned to heal that little girl because she never knew how to heal, right? So, all right. Number 9 is emotional numbness. So this comes from constant suppressing of emotions, of the overwhelming emotions, and it leads to you becoming emotionally detached. So you live in autopilot. You don't talk about, or you can talk about your feelings all day long. You don't care to tell people about them, or maybe you don't talk about them at all, but you are numb to it. You're like, well, it doesn't really bother me much, even though it's a severe trauma or it's a severe childhood abuse or neglect, or the abusive relationship. You have numbed yourself. You have, you almost feel disconnected from. You have done that. You have severed your relationship with your inner child so that you don't have to feel. But what happens whenever so much stuff arises, I'm going to take a very big guess, and I'm going to say that you explode to the point of almost being in psychosis. That's my, I'm just guessing here, but that, whenever you numb yourself so much, and you push it down and push it down, you're pushing down that inner child and that little girl within you who is screaming for help, because it hurts, and that's okay. It's okay that you do these things, but it's because you're hurting, and you don't know how to deal with it, and so you would just rather numb and not even think about it and put it to the back of your mind. But I am going to tell you that our unconscious mind keeps files in our brain. It's like a file holder, and anytime it feels like you're ready, it's going to bring things back to your mind, and the more you shove them back, the longer it's going to take for you to heal. So, oh gosh, I talk way too much. So, how it manifests itself is you feel emotionally numb and disconnected. The negative outcomes of this is difficulty connecting with others and feeling you feel empty. And abuse survivors will develop it's dissociation. You are dissociating from your emotions and from other people, and you're in autopilot constantly. And so abuse survivors develop dissociation as a defense mechanism, and it it reduces your enjoyment of life. You can't fully feel your feelings anymore, almost. And whenever good things happen, whenever you tell your brain to shut off its emotions, it's going to. Every one of them, even the happy times. And you're going to struggle to try and even like celebrate with people or be happy about an accomplishment. There's something I had on here. Special emotions, difficulty forming connections, life, depression, can't process feelings. So anyways, a way that you could begin to work on this is to reconnect with your emotions and maybe start a feelings journal. I know it sounds so cheesy and so corny, but to have a journal and just begin like writing out your process, you'll be able to sell it, especially abuse survivors, because every little win helps. It's not necessarily like you're just writing in there like, hey, dear whoever, write to God. Or you can even write to the little girl within you. Write to her and tell her how you're feeling, or ask her how she's feeling, and it'll come up for you. Okay, so the last one, maybe really difficult to talk about for sexual abuse survivors. So I just wanted to warn you ahead of time. So this is based off of my past as well, so I'm speaking from experience and from love, and it might get a little bit uncomfortable, but I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. So number 10 is sexual intimacy challenges. So once somebody has, for the person coming in, hi, I'm about to talk about something maybe a little bit uncomfortable, about sexual trauma, and I just wanted to let you know ahead of time. So the origin of this, obviously, is from past traumas, low self-esteem, trust issues, and they contribute to sexual intimacy challenges, especially for those. So anybody who's been through sexual trauma, anybody who has went through a rape or a molestation, no matter where that was, even if it was in a marriage, anybody who was in addiction and they've only gotten high whenever they were, while they've only really had sex whenever they were high. Whenever you actually go to, so it affects your perception of intimacy. It has ruined the way that you look at sex and the way that you feel during it. And this is a gift from God, right, for a man and a woman who are married. But survivors may feel like they are nasty. Like you look at it like it's a nasty thing because of what you've been through. Most of us, if you are an abuse survivor, we won't look at our partner during sex because it's a self-esteem issue almost. Like, am I doing it right? Am I looking at you right? Like, you know what I'm saying? And constantly trying to please your partner instead of trying to please yourself. And that's I think a lot of women deal with that, but it's especially hard for women who are abused, or if you're coming out of alcoholism or addiction, then whenever you're used to having sex whenever you're high or drunk, then whenever you're sober or you're trying to like heal yourself, it's like almost like, how do I be comfortable in this situation? Like that's a very that's like a really, really serious problem in relationships and in marriages. So how it manifests itself is you could possibly struggle in sexual relationships due to anxiety, self-esteem, or the trauma. You feel shame or discomfort. You have the inability to feel pleasure or to actually have an orgasm, or you only are doing it for your partner. You're not doing it for yourself. And that is a result of trauma. I know it might be a little bit uncomfortable, but it is a behavior that actually manifests itself in our lives that we probably aren't even aware of. I'm at the hour mark. I need to hurry. So the outcomes of this is strain on relationships, lack of communication. So if you're not sharing certain things with your partner, and what you've been through, and they're not being like gentle or understanding, that's a red flag right there. Because that is sexual trauma is I believe it is one of the most difficult to heal. It's possible through God, and really working on the little girl within you, but it is it's all about communicating with your partner and making sure that they love you enough. So you love yourself enough to tell them about it, and then they love you enough to respect what you've been through and being gentle and caring and understanding of certain things, right? It's extremely important. Steps. The steps would be this is so that really needs to be addressed by a therapist or a psychologist. I'm not there yet. I'm getting there. But that's a really something that somebody needs to address, those trauma-related issues with you in a clinical setting, because of the things that can come up for you during those times. And if anybody tells you otherwise, do not listen to them. I'm not even qualified. I mean, I could help you through it, but the deep-seated, really deep sexual trauma, that needs to be gone through with a clinical therapist for sure, because of the PTSD that could possibly arise. So anyways, because they could address those issues. Practice open communication with your partner, or even your future partner if you're dating somebody. Make sure that you are open with them and honest with them about what you've been through and what the triggers are during sex, so they know what not to do, right? You could explore with your partner and let him know what is comfortable, what is not, and he should be completely willing and open to be make you comfortable so that you can enjoy as much as he does. It's not fair that a man only gets to, right? So you could read books, tell him how you feel, blah blah blah. All right, so that or support groups. And so that is it. That is all of the behaviors. Yay, we got through it, and I'm only 3 minutes over. I'm happy. So understanding these origins and the manifestations can guide you through the healing process, and it will allow you to nurture that inner child within you, the Talitha Kum, and take steps towards a healthier, happier life. So, like I said, if anybody missed it, so what I've been building is the membership, and what's going to be inside the membership is a healing vault. And the membership is only going to be $7 in the beginning, I think. I think that's where I'm going to try. It's not going to be much at all. And what I've been working on is a whole entire vault of information like this, and quizzes and self-assessments and videos and resources like guides and things like that will help you get through this healing process even by yourself if you wanted to. Like I said, I have one more opening in my AwakenHer beta program. If any of this stuff resonated with you and you're like, I would love to work on my little girl, one-to-one, seriously work on her, I have one more seat open until I close the doors and I start charging for the one-on-one sessions. But you guys can do this yourselves as well. So, and that's what I wanted the membership to be for. I want it to be affordable, where you guys can go in and you can read the information, watch the information at your own pace, because everybody, it's going to be a slow process, because it's very deep-seated stuff. And whenever I've gone through these with my clients, my beta clients, like you have like a breakthrough, and then you're like almost like you have like a release in your mind, and the rest of the day you're like drained almost. So it does take a lot, especially whenever you go in and you start to really dig into the pain that you've been through. So anyways, I am so glad for you guys. I'm going to put in some affirmations, and for those 3, I see that 3 of you have been here with me the entire time. If you would message me and say I was there, I will give you guys I'll give you guys a special one of the resources, one of the guides that I have created, and I will send it to you all. So make sure you message me. And I think that is it. Does anybody have any questions at all, or does anybody need prayer or anything before we go? I'm so glad that you guys have I'm so glad you guys are here for it. But for anybody who missed it, I love you, and I know that you had to miss it. Send me a message. And I will send you something else. But for the ladies who are here, I really want to show some extra love too. Alright, well, I love each and every one of you all. Next week, we'll be talking about something. I'll be doing a poll on Monday to see what you guys want to talk about. But it's going to kind of be around how to begin healing and working on more stuff. So I love you guys. I hope you guys have a great week. And feel free to message me anytime. And I will see y'all next time.